Hey everyone, Britt and Chris Carmichael here, bringing you the Elevated Life series where we teach you simple mindset shifts to create radical transformation in your life. And today's topic, we're going to teach you 3 ways to manage your anger. We all know that anger comes up and emotions are energy in motion. So we're going to talk about what to do when anger arises so that you can diffuse it, you can use it in a creative way, and so that you can stop letting this emotion take over your entire system, because anger sometimes is one of those powerful emotions that if we're not in control of it, it can be in control of us.
Yeah, so think back to your life. Think back just recently, maybe in the last week or two.
Hey everyone, hold on, I'm just so excited. Hey everyone who's joining. Hey Esther, hey Laura, hey Joanne. Say hello if you're watching live. Thank you for joining us, and share where you're watching from.
Yeah, so think in the last, let's say, couple weeks, have you been angry? Have you been angry with yourself? Have you been angry maybe with your spouse, partner, kids, someone in your close-knit relationship, your families? Have you been just angry at the guy driving next to you on the road? And what I mean by anger is a lot of times when the emotion comes up, like Britt said, and it just takes over you, where you feel nothing else, but it's almost like that blind red rage where you just go, oh, I hate this. Have you been feeling that come up lately?
Yeah, are you guys feeling angry AF or noticing that your emotions are a little volatile right now? We're going through major changes, and we just had a solar eclipse yesterday. So a lot of change and emotion is coming up. And like we talked about, emotions are energy in motion, emotion. So emotions aren't to make you feel bad. Emotions are to get your attention so that you can have an awareness around your situations and see what's going on. So anger, this might blow your mind. This changed everything for me. So anger represents that something is unfair. How does that resonate with you? Does it make you look at all of that energy that's been swirling around a little bit differently? Like, instead of just being like, oh, I'm angry, instead of going, I'm angry, you can say, something in my life is unfair, and this feeling is representing that. What is it? Does that change the game? Does that shift your mindset a little bit on what anger really means for you?
Yeah, unfairness is such a big deal. So the first way that you can manage anger is that you can respond instead of react. I mean, think about it. Normally when we get upset, it's an automatic reaction. And what that means is that the choices that we make in our words and the choices that we make in our actions are unconscious. In other words, we don't think about them before we actually do them. And so what I'd like to encourage you guys to do is to, when the anger comes up, pause for a second and take 3 to 5 really long, deep breaths. And what will happen from that is it will give you enough time to not immediately just go into reaction mode, because that's where we start saying things that we can't take back, and we start doing things that don't really align with how we really feel. It just comes out of that bruised ego. I'm hurt. I cannot believe this is happening. And so we just dive in at the other person. And what we do when we do that is, rather than influencing a situation to come out in a way that's really positive, in a way that we like, we end up using that anger and we end up attacking the other person. And because we attack the other person, the only thing they're going to do is attack us back. And so
you get what you give.
Yeah, there's no level of love, there's no level of resolution. It's just one person attacking another person, and then what ends up happening is just gasoline on that fire. So it's just, we're attacking each other and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger, rather than going, hey, what happened right here? Let's talk through this. Let's respond. Let's figure out a way to do it.
How many of you feel like you've been reacting to life or to other people, or even to the emotions that are coming up within you, versus responding? And that's okay if you've been doing that, because it's this awareness, taking a moment to pay attention, that will help us to create the change and shift into that responsive mode instead of reacting mode.
Yeah, big deal.
Laura says, yes, volatile, that's it. But I'm learning to listen to the giggle. With the hello of the most wonderful 2 coaches in the world.
Thank you, Laura.
Thank you so much,
You know how much
Laura.
we love you, yeah.
So Anne says, when I get scared, I get angry.
Yeah.
That's a very interesting form of defense that I can feel like you cultivated. That was a safer feeling emotion for you than when you were feeling scared. So you created anger to kind of mask the scaredness so that you could grab onto that.
Yeah, think about that. So when you get scared, it's like, when I think of scared, I think automatically of the fetal position, like, oh my gosh, don't hurt me. But when you go into the anger mode, like I said before, it goes into that attack mode. And for a lot of people, that attacking protects them.
Yeah, it feels like you have some kind of power.
Really important to look into that, yeah.
And thank you for sharing. It's so important to look at the way that we react to the world so that we can get a more clear understanding. And that's when we can take conscious control of our life and start shifting and choosing to respond. And the way that I do that, my mom used to always teach me this. And Mom, I know you'll be watching this. So she always used to say, think before you speak. And I used to be like, oh, if you only knew what I was thinking versus what I actually said. But I realize that now as an adult, you can, like Chris said, take a few deep breaths, give yourself that moment to switch out of the automatic response mode or reaction mode. And those few breaths just kind of calm you down to get like all your shit organized on the inside and be like, okay, how am I going to accept this? How am I going to reply back, and how am I going to respond? And responding is with conscious control, and reacting is just, I'm afraid, my ego's attacking.
Yeah, and the second thing that you can do to manage your anger, and this way is really, really powerful, it's to change your self-talk. And you definitely know this comes up if you're in a relationship or if you're just driving down the road.
Yeah, when you're mad, when you take anger, everything gets a little bit of, I'm mad, the fuck this, blah, 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 this is stupid, I can't believe that. And you go on this crazy, like, expanding
anger
spiral.
Rampage,
yeah.
The big deal here is in this languaging, what you're really looking for is what story are you telling yourself about the situation that's going on, and really, really check yourself if you're using certain words like always or never. Those are the words that come up.
This always happens to me.
You always do this to me, and I always feel like that. And what ends up happening is that you put your relationship on a terrible fire that's just going to end up ending it. Because when that anger comes up and then you make up a story about the person, let's say you get in a fight with your partner, right? And then you go off and you do dishes, or you go off and you get your nails done, or whatever the case might be, right? And you're talking about them in your head to yourself, and you're playing all these old scenarios. That's the self-talk that we're talking about. And so when you start doing that, you repeat that story to yourself, and then you make a phone call to your mom or your parents or your best friend, and then you repeat the same story to them, and then you start believing it because you've conspired to make them believe it too. And now there's no way for you to get out of it because you've defined a story that happened rather than talking with your partner, whoever you're angry about, and getting down to really like the nuts and bolts of what's going on.
Wow, that's so profound. Anyone have like a aha light bulb moment with that wisdom that Chris just dropped on us? Stacy says, conscious control, love that. And we have a question here. Great topic. How do you stop the automatic anger rage if thinking about taking a breath is the last thing on your mind?
So here's the deal on that. Everything is how you practice it, right? The anger and rage is a pre-programmed pattern that your mind is used to doing. So when your mind, all your behavior is pre-programmed. So whatever you practice or whatever you've seen someone else practice, that's what you're going to do. Because it's unconscious. All unconscious behaviors are pre-programmed behaviors. That's why you see dogs dig. It's just natural. That's what they're going to do. Okay, I'm just going to dig at this moment. And so you have to get yourself off of that. So the idea is to, when you notice something that kind of just pisses you off a little bit, maybe someone pulls in front of the parking spot that you were going to get, or maybe someone cuts you off a little bit, those are the small things where you can start practicing your breathing. So practice on the small stuff before it comes to the big stuff. Because if you've been practicing in a negative way on the small things, you're definitely going to do it on the big things because you're going to go into that automatic mode. So if you start practicing on the small stuff, it's so much easier to relax when the big things happen because you're used to doing it. You're used to taking that pause and taking that breath. And so on the bigger things, you know how to control it. At least don't react immediately. Give yourself at least a few breaths to respond, and a lot of things will change. You'll notice that the anger will subside a little bit. Because you'll start, when you control your breath, you control your nervous system, which means you control how you feel. So as you slow your breathing down and take those long, deep breaths, those rational, normal, logical thoughts come back into your mind, and you can give yourself enough pause to say, hey, I'm going to come from a place of love versus coming from a place of hate. And when you come from a place of love, a lot more better options can come toward the end, a lot more solutions.
Right. And, just the way that you ask the question makes me start to like uncover and dig a little bit. It's like, breathing is the last thing on my mind when I'm angry. Well, now that you're aware that you push your relaxation so far away when you get angry, it's important to now bring that to the forefront and go, okay, I realize that anger is just big and strong, and I've allowed that. So now I have to take practice, like Chris says, start with the small stuff and start practicing bringing that breath to the forefront. Since you've pushed it away so far, now it's important to just be mindful of going, okay, well, there's a better response. There's a better way of acting in this situation, and it definitely takes practice. Great nugget to practice on the small stuff we can control better.
Exactly.
Love it.
It's always a practice.
Yeah, everything that we teach you is a practice. Meditation, yoga, loving each other, loving yourself, being patient, being forgiving, elevating your life. All of this takes practice, guys. Hey, Aaron, it's so good to see you. I had to ask myself the other day, are you going to allow 10 minutes of your day to affect the rest of your day?
So important.
Yeah, actually, that you bring up a great point, Aaron. Chris taught me something really important that changed my inner world. He said, if it's not going to matter in 5 years, don't waste more than 5 minutes on it. And that blew my mind. So here's the thing, guys. If you get angry, don't be like, oh, I shouldn't be angry. This is bad. Anger, again, is just a sign to show you that something is unfair. So it's important to take a look at what's going on in your reality. But most importantly, you have to think about, well, will this matter in 5 years? And if it won't, just take 5 minutes right then and there. Don't drag it out over the next week. Just take 5 minutes to fully feel the emotion. We can't shove it back down and ignore it. It'll just fester and build and grow over time. Just honor it. If you feel angry, be fucking angry for 5 minutes. Be mad, rage in the comfort of your own privacy, not onto other people or at other people, but feel your feelings, honor them, let them know that they're heard and that you're paying attention now that something in your life maybe is unfair if anger is arising.
Yeah, one of the big deals too with anger, hey Becky, any of these more intense emotions, one of the best things to do is to be able to channel it into something. Find some sort of art or hobby that you love. Some of the best music is either written about love or written about loss or written about anger. It's these intense emotions that bring out so much creativity in us because they have to go somewhere. The emotion has to move in some way. So the important part
Energy in motion.
Yeah, so the important part is for you to control how it moves for you. Are you going to automatically lash out? Or are you going to channel it, use that, transform it, move the energy in another way? Say, hey, I can move this. I know what I'm doing here. I'm going to channel this into my art, into my work, into my business, and use this extra energy that I have to do something creative and productive that other people will enjoy, rather than just freaking out. And like Aaron said, is it going to ruin the rest of the day? Or can I have an opportunity here to use that exact same energy to make something really amazing? Yeah,
and you automatically give your power away to the energy or to the situation if you allow something that happens to ruin your whole day or your whole life or a whole year. I mean, so many of you guys allow one small bump in the road to just throw off your entire joy. And that, to me, means that there needs to be some work done. And really important, before we move into the third thing to help manage your anger, I want to know, how is a way that you channel or diffuse your anger? Chris has taught methods and past trainings for the elevated life to take a tennis racket and just beat the bed with it to get that energy out. Remember, energy and motion, so we have to move it somewhere. Otherwise, we shove it back down and we hold on to it. For me, I like to cry. When I get mad, I just cry immediately. I just let the tears come out. Chris looks at me and he's like, "Oh no, I know what those mean. It's either one of two things, right? I'm either angry or I'm sad." And so or really, really freaking happy. So, and you can tell what kind of tears they are. So what is the way that you express your energy? If you're mad or sad, how do you let it out? Some people bottle it up, which is unhealthy. And some people cry, some people yell.
Some people eat the emotions.
Some people
it's okay.
Eat the
We've
emotions.
all done it.
Yeah. So how do you get rid of your anger, your excess energy? Y'all are the awesomest.
Becky, you're the best.
We love you, Becky. Okay, Laura says, every single word is blowing my mind today. So true. Everything you said. Aha moment. Oh, you guys are so awesome. Oh, hey, Taryn. Oh my gosh. I'm loving seeing all of you guys here. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Elevated Life, where we're talking about 3 ways to manage your anger. The first was respond instead of react. The second is change your self-talk. And the third is check your expectations.
Ooh, this one is so important because so often what we do is we place expectations on other people. And the biggest problem with that is not that specific part. It's the fact that they don't know what expectations we've placed on them. And so we get upset and we get angry about the expectations we place on them and they don't fulfill, despite the fact that they don't know it. And it's such a key part in relationships, is that if you feel like you're constantly making these expectations for your partner and they're clueless about it. Look, if you have a guy in your life and you're always upset with him and he's not meeting your expectations, you got to talk to him. Because a lot of times guys just don't know. I mean, I don't know. That's why I asked Britt, hey, what's going on? How's what I'm doing? How are you feeling about it? You know, how do we rank our week? You know, was this a 7 week? Was this a 9 week? What could have made it better? And when you start asking those questions, you start realizing the kind of expectations that you're setting for yourself and for your relationship and for other people. And sometimes it's nice just to drop those, just to let everybody off the hook for a minute. Say, hey, look, whatever you're doing is fine with me. And hopefully whatever I'm doing is fine with you. And we can kind of meet in the middle and talk about it. But if you don't, if you set up those expectations and then you're furious nonstop at them, you know, it's going to have a really, you know, your relationship's going to totally suffer.
And another thing to pay attention to, especially in a partnership or a relationship where maybe, let's say, one person is mad, so many times in the beginning of our relationship, I realized that when I was mad, you know, the energy would be coming off and Chris would think that it was about him. He would be like, oh, she's mad at me. But what's important for everyone, no matter if you're the angry person projecting or if you're the person in the room receiving, remember that if someone is mad, it's not always about you. It's not your fault. And especially if your partner's in the same room, you know. So my advice is to not take on other people's anger as if it was your fault. So many people go, oh, they're mad. It's me. They're mad at me. And then it gets weird and then there's tension and then they get mad at you because you're being weird. So in the beginning of our relationship, every 1 week out of every month, I would get a little cranky and he would always take it as though I was mad at him or irritated with him. And there was this one life-changing moment where we had this conversation talking about open up, stop projecting and coming up with all these scenarios in your head why it's wrong. There was one conversation that we had. I was like, you realize, like, I'm not mad at you at all. I'm just mad. Like, this is just how it feels. Like, nothing to do with you. I know that you're in the room and I'm really sorry if what's coming out of me makes you feel like I'm projecting it onto you on purpose. And that was a game changer for us when Chris stopped taking responsibility for my emotions and being like, well, it must be my fault if she's upset. No, I'm a woman and we go like this with our emotions. So he just had to learn to allow me to feel how I feel, knowing that it isn't his fault or has nothing to do with him. Yeah. And if it does, I'll let him know.
Yeah, and what's really great about that is that, you know, once I learned it, it was easy for me to relax and just give Britt the space that she needed. And so I didn't take it personal. It didn't ruin the night. We still didn't ruin the week. We still moved about just as we normally would.
But we did it in the beginning. We'd wait days until we would talk to each other again because we're so stubborn. And if I talk first, then I'm giving in. And it wasn't until we realized we both want to be on the same team. We both want to play like together. And the longer that we like resist and butt heads against each other, the sadder we are. Because the whole time I'm ignoring him, I just want him to come talk to me. So stop playing these games and stop trying to be so tough and so strong. Just open up and express, knowing that your vulnerability is your strength. Someone asked, what do I do about hopelessness? I think that's a great topic to cover next week. So please stay tuned for next Elevated Life on Friday at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time, and we'll cover hopelessness.
Yeah.
And if there's any other topics or questions that you guys have that you'd like us to cover here on the Elevated Life, leave them in the comments below or shoot us a private message. We're happy to cover any topics from success to spirituality to health and wealth, relationships, whatever it is, you name it, we'll talk about it. I mean, Facebook ads, business building, like we can talk about it all, guys. Which is a really cool thing. So we love to offer that for you, whether you're in our membership club or not, or you just like to watch our free series on Fridays here on Facebook and Instagram. We appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you so much for joining us this week. We talked about 3 ways to manage your anger. I'll recap them really quick. If you have any questions about today, any aha moments or comments you'd like to leave them in the comments below. And if you know somebody who would love this video, please tag them or share this on your page. I appreciate all the love, support, and good vibes. So, number 1, respond instead of react. Be consciously in control of what you're putting out into the world. Number 2, change your self-talk.
And number 3, check your expectations. You know, all these are so important. And if you nail the first one, if you start responding instead of reacting, the other 2 a lot of times will take care of themselves. It'll just be so much easier. But if you get into that reactive mode, I mean, you're just going to downward spiral and you're going to take the other person with you. So figure out, how can I take the situation and make it better? Not how can I take the situation and make it worse? That's really what we're trying to do here. So become super aware of what your thoughts are, become aware of the story you're telling yourself and other people, and let people off the hook a little bit. Let them off the hook. They cut you off. They take your parking spot. Maybe they needed it. Maybe they got to poop. Maybe that's why they're driving fast. You never know what the deal is going on with people. So let them have whatever's going on with them, and you stay safe and calm right in the center of the tornado for yourself, and everything will work out.
So because our biggest advice to you to be able to switch out of your reaction mode to responding mode is to take a few deep breaths. Before we close out today, I want you to take a moment to pause, to take a few long deep breaths in through your nose and exhale out your mouth. Maybe breathe in through the nose and hold it at the top. Really allow yourself to hold on to that breath as long as you can. And then let it go. Just take a few moments to be mindful, to slow down, to breathe, to reconnect with that peace that is at the center of your being. If you're ever feeling anxious, worried, fearful, angry, it's because you're living outside of yourself. And it's important to come back home to your heart space, to your soul, and take a few moments to sit in that peaceful stillness so that you can remember that your essence, the core of who you really are is based in love and peacefulness. And anything outside of that is just trying to teach us to come back home to ourselves. I know.
Dang.
Just channeled like from a whole nother like freaking world, people.
Have a great Friday.
Laura says, thank you for today's topic, guys. You are the best. So much love from here. Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Maeve. Thank you to everyone who is here. We appreciate each and every one of you. And again, if you have a topic you'd like us to cover on The Elevated Life, leave it in the comments below or reach out. We love hearing from you, and even better, we love hanging out with you inside our monthly membership club and private Facebook groups. So if you're not in there, you should definitely join. And before we go, I just want to say hello to my grandma who just joined. Hey, Grandma, happy birthday from yesterday. Love you so much. Love you all. Have a great weekend. Enjoy your life. And remember, be slow to anger and quick to love. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye.